Awesome. Ed, good afternoon or good morning. I'm actually not sure in the world you are, but how are you doing, guys? Digital Marketing Dream Team. Hope you guys are doing well. Steve here from Globatel, and I'm joined today by Ed Axe, one of the strongest, coolest names I've heard in a while, from Axe Automation. So, Ed, yeah, man, tell us a little bit about yourself. So you help agencies with automation, right?
Yeah, exactly. So first, Steven, it's a pleasure to be here talking to you about a topic that I'm a big fan of. So yeah, just a little bit of my background. So I spent like 10 to 12 years in the corporate world. So I worked for P&G, I worked for Google. Then I left Google to start my own startup. And that it was then that I started to get to know more about automation. And I was able to scale my startup using automation with a very lean team. And I was able to sell that startup last year and then exit the business. So then my mission was to kind of build an automation agency to help other agencies automate their processes. There are so many opportunities to automate processes that we usually do on a manual basis that consumes a lot of your time. So my goal is to help agencies streamline the process, automate workflows, and build systems.
Got you. Love automation, bro. It's such an important part of running an agency. It's such a frustrating thing that I think all agency owners need help with. So, mate, obviously automation is your thing. You know what you're doing from an automation perspective. Give us 3 tips. I mean, as I said, we keep the short, simple, valuable. We want our agency owners in the community to just kind of catch us on the fly and really take away 3 pieces of really valuable information. What are 3 tips that you can give an agency owner who's watching about automation in their agency?
Sure. I think the most important thing is to start to the process that consumes much of the time. So the idea of building an automation is to help you cut workload and scale your business, scale your operation. So you need to first identify the process that are more like time consuming, that consumes a lot of your time as a agency owner or a lot of your team's time that you can use the time to like scale the business. So first identify the processes, then really map every step of the process. So you need to identify the trigger and you need to identify the actions of the process. So where the process starts and where the actions that need to happen within that process. You first need to do this better in an offline way. So then you can automate. So identify the process, map and take notes and build. Sometimes it helps build a workflow, a kind of mind map of the process, and then start building the automation using the right tools, but making sure that the automation, once you build it, you need to first test to make sure that it's nothing wrong, that you need to fix some kind of issues, then you need to scale it. But sometimes that one thing that is very common for agencies to do is to first automate, then to map the process. But if you automate a process that is broken, it's going to get much worse. So that's why it's very important to identify and to map the process in an offline way before you can take it online and automate it.
Got you. Interesting. I've got a question there about what you said. So in terms of identifying the time consuming parts and the things that are taking up the most time for you and your team, out of interest, obviously, as I said, the community is mostly, it's all agency owners, people within agencies who are running and trying to find better ways to run agencies. One of the biggest frustrations I know with agency owners is, am I having the same problems that my competitors are having? And obviously they can't always get the answer to that question. So this is a good opportunity for them to find out, in your experience, what are some of those most common tasks that you find in agencies that are the places to start? Is it administration? Is it on product base and service operations? Where do you generally find with the agencies you work with that they are having their most, their tasks are sucking up the most of their time?
Yeah, so usually the most common process that we usually automate for agencies are like client onboarding. So once you get a new client, you need to do a different set of actions to onboard that new client, like sending an invoice, sending contract, create a Slack channel, add that client to that channel, create a project inside a project management tool. So there are a lot of different steps that need to happen when a new client is onboarding. So client onboarding is a big one. Usually it takes a lot of time to onboard a new client, and we can do that just like this. And so that's one very important one. Another one is client reporting. So usually the agency have to send a report every week or every month to the client, kind of collecting the data from different sources, build a report and send the report to the client via email, let's say. So that's another one that is also automatable, let's say this. Also building proposals to new leads. Yeah. Usually, again, it takes a lot of time to build a new proposal, having a template and send to the lead. So this is also can be automated. And also another thing that is very common is the whole sales process, kind of nurturing the leads and doing the follow-up, reaching out. So that those are the things that we can also usually automate for agencies. The idea of automating all those processes is to make sure that the agency owner will have time more on the sales calls, on the creative side of the business, and to going after more clients. So that's the idea, and we can automate all the other processes in the back end.
Got you. And you mentioned that obviously once mapping it out in an offline environment. I think that's a great point that you make there about if you don't do it offline and you try to build the automation before you've actually mapped it out, you run into a lot of problems. What are some of those? I mean, obviously it's time wasting and that costs money, I suppose, is one of the biggest issues if you don't do it in that order.
Exactly, because if you don't have the process kind of very structured in an offline way, when you try to automate that process, you're gonna end up having more issues than before, because you're gonna start scaling a process that is not ready to be scaled. So you're gonna have more issues. You're gonna maybe start sending emails to the wrong person, or maybe start to kind of trigger actions that you don't want to trigger. So, and then you're gonna need to spend more time to fix an automation and to try to look for issues and bugs in the automation, because you kind of didn't first structure the process in a more offline way. So that's why it's very, very important to understand the process, have it very, very clear each step and each tool that you're going to use for that process. So let's say the onboarding process. So let's say you use a CRM. So you can use like Pipedrive. So when you move a new lead in a different stage on Pipedrive, that's going to be the trigger, and there are a different set of actions that need to happen. So you need to create a Slack channel, you need to add a project on Monday, you need to send an invoice using Stripe. So it's very important to have clear each step, and of course, each tool that you need to use for each step on the process.
Got you. Agency owners we know what sales is like, we know what marketing is all about, and often we react to numbers. Just in terms of, I mean, can you tell us one or two success stories in terms of savings in time and workload? Because that's often what people, again, you can say everybody knows this, everybody knows that automation is going to help them in their life, but how much can it help them? Do you have success stories that you could share just to kind of demonstrate how important automation could be?
Totally. So there are many different things that automation can help an agency, and you can look at it in different angles. So one example that I can share is on the time saving angle. So for example, last week I built an automation for one client, and now he's saving 2 hours per day. That now he's using those 2 hours and going after more clients. So the automation that we built for this agency was more on the fulfillment, more on the operation side of the things. Now it's allowing the agency owner to grow the business by going after more clients, using that extra 2 hours to kind of reach out to leads, to do sales calls and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So automation not only kind of save you time, but help you scale, because allows you to focus on the more important task and the more important process for your agency. And there is another angle that I like also very much. It's client satisfaction, because when you have more time, you can also focus more on the relationship with your clients, in doing sales calls and doing creative work. So you usually we kind of map here and track client satisfaction in terms of NPS. So we have an agency that we have been working for 5 months now, and then the NPS from the clients grew more than 30%, because now the client is not stuck on operational task and operational process. They are more focused on the clients and kind of really understand the clients and giving more value to the client. So there are different angles that you can look at and the benefits of automation, but that's why I always like to kind of put together like the workload, the decrease of workload, and also the possibility to scale, having more satisfied clients.
Amazing. Awesome. Cool. Look, as I say, I don't think there's many agency owners out there who would disagree with you that automation is, man, it's a lifesaver, but we just tend to, as agency owners, put it on the back burner. We'd rather work hard than smart, and it's just throw the elbow grease behind it and throw the hard work behind it, instead of sitting back and saying, hey, let me do this work. Let me put some automations together and drill my team and give them a proper process to follow. But yeah, I think you've laid it out pretty nicely there, how important automation is. Anything else you want to add from an automation perspective, or anything else of value that you think that the agencies who might be listening would value from?
Yeah, I think just a note on your last phrase. So usually there are some agency owners that they can think, okay, I don't want to make my agency robotic like this, but the idea is actually the opposite. No one likes to keep kind of filling forms, filling contracts, sending invoices. You want to do the work that you like to do, like creating, adding value to your clients, and automation is going to allow you to do that. So automation is going to automate the things that can be automated, so you can focus on the quality of your time and the quality of your work that you're going to add value to your clients. So I like that point, because it's very important to mention that the relationship with your clients is not going to be robotic. On the contrary, you're going to have more time to talk to your client, to create better campaigns and add more value to your market. So that's how automation can help you scale.
Awesome, man. Ed, listen, that's really great, man. Thank you so much for the insight. I really appreciate it. And of course, I'm sure you'll be available. Obviously, if anybody catches this, is interested in picking up the conversation with you, they can get in touch. How can people get in touch with you? What's the best way?
Yeah, my email is @edx.co, and my website is xautomation.digital. So if you want to talk more about automation, I'll be happy to do it. So just send me an email. I'm on Twitter as well. It's @edx. So I'm always posting content around agency automation there. So give it a follow, and we can chat more about it.
Thank you so much, bro. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, man. My pleasure.